We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
It is not, generally speaking, unruly, but fires have been started. And
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to you, the people.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Just our take is our web show. Say hi. What's your number one program that you want to take care of?
First thing we gotta do, we gotta get the back track. Inflation under control. We can't be having $4 gasoline. We can't be having, groceries unaffordable. We got to get the economy working for all Montana together.
To the world-famous Octagon, flanked by UFC CEO Dana White, 45, soon to be 47, President-elect Donald Trump.
also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security in preparing 30,000 person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo.
Touchdown. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode number 107 of Just Our Take. We were off for the Easter holiday, so we're back. We missed you guys. I'm your host, John, and I'm joined tonight with my co-host, David and Elle. David, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I was going to say, is that real? Because it's almost like the Blue Origin thing, which I know that's not on today's docket, but I got to tell you, like, the internet has made that just hysterical. Welcome, everyone. John, I'm looking forward to tonight's show. Elle, great to see you, man. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. My dad's recovering, so I missed last week.
Awesome.
Glad to be back on the show, and a lot of activity's been going on over the last week, so I'm looking forward to tonight's show.
Man, oh man, you're not kidding. We do have a fully packed show. I'm going to try not to go too long, but you know how this goes when the producer, me, happens to screw up and do an old intro. I couldn't let it just hang. I had to bring the new intro too. So you got to see two intros tonight. So 8 minutes in, we're finally here to the show. Without much further ado, why don't I just jump right into tonight's monologue? Welcome back to Just Our Take, where we cut through the noise and get right to what's happening in America. Today, we're diving into a topic that's got everyone talking: the fight to clean up and take back our country from the deep state and the tidal wave of illegal immigration that's been encouraged, yes, encouraged by the Biden administration. And here's the kicker. Could President Trump be forced to suspend posse comitatus to get it done? Let's unpack this. Folks, the United States is at a breaking point. For the past 4 years, we've watched the Biden administration roll out the red carpet for millions of illegal immigrants. Border Patrol reported over 7.2 million encounters, just encounters, at the southwest border since Biden took office. That's more than the population of many states. And don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking it's just migration. This is a deliberate policy. Biden team gutted the Trump era measures like Remain in Mexico and Title 42, which kept crossings manageable. They've turned our border into a revolving door with programs like CBP-1 and letting migrants schedule their entry like a dinner reservation. Meanwhile, sanctuary cities shield criminals and cartels are having a field day. This is not compassion, it's chaos. And who's pulling the strings? The deep state. You know, the shadowy network of unelected bureaucrats, intelligence operatives, and co-op cronies who've been running the show behind the scenes for decades. They thrive on the disorder. Why? Because a fractured, overwhelmed America is easier to control. The deep state doesn't care about your safety or your paycheck. They're too busy cozying up to globalist agendas, pushing open borders to dilute the sovereignty. Under Biden, they've had free reign, and the results are staggering. Skyrocketing crime rates in cities, strained schools and hospitals, and communities buckling under the weight of unchecked migration. Enter President Trump, who's back with a mandate to fix this mess. He's promised the largest deportation operation in history, targeting the estimated 11 million immigrants in the U.S. That's no small feat. ICE only has about 6,000 enforcement officers and 41,000 detention beds, plus the 30,000 in Gitmo, to scale up. Trump's taking to scale up, Trump's talking about using the National Guard and even the military. He's already signed executive orders declaring a national emergency at the border and suspending asylum for illegal crossers. But here's where it gets dicey. The Posse Comitatus Act, for those who don't know, Posse Comitatus is an 1878 law that stops the military from acting like domestic police. It's a cornerstone of our democracy, keeping soldiers from rounding up citizens on U.S. soil. But Trump's team is eyeing workarounds, like the Insurrection Act, which lets the president deploy troops in extreme cases like an invasion. And let's be honest, when millions pour across our borders, enabled by cartels and complicit administration, invasion isn't a stretch. Some say suspending fun words. Some say suspending Posse Comitatus is the only way to restore order fast. Others warn that it's a slippery slope to tyranny, blurring the line between military and civilian power. So will Trump have to go there? I don't think he wants to. He's already mobilized federal agents, deputized local police, and leaning on red state governors for National Guard support. But if the deep state keeps stonewalling, if they tie up his plans in court to sabotage what's within, he might have no choice. The left will scream fascism. But what's more dangerous, temporary military push to secure the borders or letting our country drown in chaos orchestrated by unelected elites? Here's my take. We don't need to take back our nation. Sorry. Here's my take. We need to take back our nation. And that starts with enforcing the law. Deport those who broke our rules, dismantle the deep state's grip, and rebuild a system that puts America first. Trump's got the will, but the fight's just beginning. The question is, how far will he have to go to win? What do you think? Should Trump suspend Posse Comitatus if that's the only way to stop the crisis? Let us know. You can use the chat, you can use the email, and you can always talk to us here. And that's my take for tonight, episode 107.
That's a great intro. You know, and I think about I live in a pretty blue state, sanctuary state. I think about all the sanctuary states, sanctuary cities that it's not just about trying to take care of that poor family that, you know, it's just struggling, but to protect all of the violent people that are here illegally also, who are the ones that are in the crosshairs right now. And these states saying, no, we're going to protect them. And then you have ICE agents out there trying to do their job and they can't do their job. Somebody needs to be there to help enforce the law. You would hope it would be the state that would be willing to enforce a federal law. But if they're not, then what are your options? What are your resources?
Well, the problem is we know that the states aren't. They are not enforcing the laws. They're actively subverting the laws. They're actively protecting the illegals. And you know, we're going to come and we're going to talk a little bit about our famous MS-13 Salvadorian in a little bit. But, you know, when you see the lengths that they're going to go to try to protect, you know, one person who is a known gangbanger and a wife beater, what are they going to do for, you know, all the others? Again, it is not sustainable. But I want to kind of get into this thing. David, I'm going to ask you to do a stretch. We'll stop it several times. This is a thread that I found on X, and it kind of goes through where we are at and what is looming. Trump is at a crossroads, and I think that this has been planned, and I think that there's always been exits. I think that they are limiting his choices, and I think that's where we are now.
Okay, for the audience, I'm reading this cold. Okay, from the Justice Cometh. Woke up with this on my mind, a thread. We talked about the Trump card on Jordan's show the other night, didn't we? Trump card. So I've been thinking. So, you know, Q said double meanings exist, right? We know the Trump card physically is financial path to citizenship. Oh yeah, the Trump card. But with recent events, I think that Trump has another meaning for it. SCOTUS set the precedent that when an illegal is in prison and is awaiting trial, that they cannot be deported. That's right. That's a lot of people. And also, POTUS has said numerous times he is not happy with the current rate of deportations. You don't truly understand the scope of how long it would take to get all of the illegals, just that Biden let in alone, the illegals that were already here before Biden. So how do we move around that? Since we're seeing a blockade weekly from the courts, which most injunctions have been shut down by appellate courts, remember the declaration of emergency at the border day one of the Trump's presidency. He wrote that in 90 days, he would decide to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807. You must learn not to memory hole things and take note. Let's look at what the Act of 1807 does. All right, first paragraph. The Insurrection Act of 1807 is a U.S. federal law that empowers the president to deploy federal military forces and federalized National Guard troops within the United States to suppress insurrections, rebellions, or domestic violence, or to enforce federal law when local authorities cannot or will not do so. Key points. Purpose. Allows the president to address situations where public order is disrupted due to rebellion, insurrection, or lawlessness that obstructs federal law enforcement. People will lose their minds, by the way, if a federal army, federal forces, federal police.
Keep going and we'll talk about that.
Okay. Authority. The president can act unilaterally without a state or local consent in cases of rebellion or when requested by a state legislature or governor if the legislature cannot convene. Congress is out of session. Check. Scope. Permits the use of federal troops or militia to restore order, protect federal property, or enforce federal laws. Example, a federalized National Guard. Historical context. Enacted to address domestic unrest such as the 1794 Whiskey Rebellion. Oh yeah, remember that one. And used in various instances, including the Civil War, Reconstruction, and Civil Rights era, to enforce desegregation, by the way. Limitations. The act requires the president to issue a proclamation ordering insurgents to disperse before deploying forces. It has been criticized for its broad discretion, raising concerns about potential misuse. Trump has done so on social media. Amendments. Modified over time, including in 1878 by the Posse Comitatus Act, which limits military involvement in domestic law enforcement unless authorized by laws like the Insurrection Act. The act remains a rare but significant tool for federal intervention in domestic crisis, often sparking debate over civil liberties and executive power. So,
okay, I just want to ask, did Trump already issue a proclamation ordering the insurgents to disperse?
He did.
Many times. He's
right.
Many times said, go back to where you came from. He's also given a time limit. And by the way, the original order was signed on January 20th. And the 90 days was up on April 20th. So the reports due him have been put on his desk at this point. And we're going to find out any day now whether that has swayed him to make this happen. You're right. There would be a lot of people that would kind of freak out.
I can already read the headlines. I can hear the arguments. I can hear people saying and shouts of fascism and National Socialist and all kinds of other nasty comments. Oh yeah, I can hear the whole thing already.
Yeah, it's again, they know it's coming. It's not a surprise. Here's the from the White House on January 20th, 2025. Within 90 days of the date of this proclamation, the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall submit a joint report to the President about the conditions at the southern border of the United States and any recommendations regarding additional actions that may be necessary to obtain complete operational control of the southern border, including whether to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807.
Well, I mean, if you take away all the emotion and you just try to look at this just black and white, what are the facts? What do you know? You do know that there are millions, 10 million, 11 million streamed across the borders in the last 4 years. We do know that there are cities all over the country and states that have said we are not going to support the federal laws regarding immigration or documentation status or the process thereof. And so then you say, well, how do you enforce your federal laws in a situation like this? And you'd hope you'd have cooperation, but if you don't, then what do you do?
Yeah, to Marie's point, he won the American vote, and overwhelmingly on cleaning up the border and cleaning up the immigration problem, and the mass immigration flood. It's hard to argue with, listen, the media is still, they still have a voice and they're still out there screaming, but most people, if you look at polls, most people are fully supporting the president to take care of business, whatever he needs to do. Now, I think that step one's already taken place, where Trump federalized. Sorry, he didn't federalize. The 60 feet from the border is always been federal land. What he did was he turned that into a military base. Smart. I think that was big. So now we've got this military base on the border, and no one's going to be coming through there. So at least we've shut down California, Arizona, and New Mexico. I don't remember. There was a reason why Texas did not participate in that, and it had something to do with that they'd already nationalized or launched their National Guard on the border. I think that was the case, but I don't remember if that was it. Was that what it was?
Yeah, Texas during the Biden administration kind of gave them the middle finger and won a lot of cases in court. And so they're basically doing the same thing, except, Abbott is a big supporter of Trump and this policy. A lot of Texans don't want to have all these folks and drugs coming across. So they didn't wait, right? It could have been, it still is, but it could have been worse for Texas had they not done what they did. I mean, this is why they try to impeach the AG Paxton, right?
Yeah.
Because he was winning all these lawsuits, and Texas and its constitution, they have a lot of freedoms that other states don't.
Yeah.
And so they used a lot of precedent in the law to win these battles. So yeah, the reason why Trump didn't go there, it's already a stage, right?
Yep.
For our audience that don't know, the Texas National Guard's been down there for quite a bit. And
we actually covered a lot of that during early shows. And last year, that was a lot of, there was a lot of border shows that took up quite a bit of time. David and I did some live streams from the border. We weren't at the border, but we were live streaming video from the border.
Yeah. And John, just to add a comment with regards to this Insurrection Act, and I just from looking at what President Trump has done in the past, he will voice something that is very like shock and awe, but there's something else at play. To David's point, I don't people would freak out, and I don't think that would happen. Now, me personally, the last 4 years were very devastating for our nation, and as a veteran, to see the gunk that was going on made me pretty upset. So him saying certain things and getting people's attention, he's really good at that. I never underestimate his 4D.
I'll say this: moves. I think he's going to do it. I do believe he's going to do it. Okay. I think it may be on a limited scope, but I think that the Intel boards have told us that it's going to happen. The Intel boards have already forecast what the other side's going to do. Look at what the judges are doing. Every single time he tries to do something, even though the courts have zero authority to step in the way of immigration or, every step of the way, he keeps on getting thwarted in what he's trying to do.
But I think part of that is part of his strategy to expose all of his corruption, kind of like what Doge has done in the federal government. You can't, if you want to win the people's vote, which if you look at the, even CNN said, majority of Americans are all for sending illegals out of the country, right?
And I want to get back to the thread, because there's a lot to it, and I think this part's gonna change some minds here. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, who controls the National Guard? POTUS when federalized. In the insurrection, if the Insurrection Act is invoked, you will start to see National Guard called up to cities to carry out deportations. This is key. Remember what I said on the show the other night about the Marines. POTUS can activate without congressional approval. POTUS can directly control the Marines. What conditions must be satisfied for this to happen? Insurrection, invasion, the Insurrection Act of 1807. What presidents used this act in the past? Yeah, this isn't the first time this has been discussed. Let's see. It's been invoked by several former U.S. presidents through historical records. Not always exhaustive. Notable instances include, this goes back a little bit, Andrew Jackson in 1831 to address the nullification crisis in South Carolina, where federal authority was challenged over tariff disputes. Oh, there's that tariff word again. Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War, particularly to suppress Confederate rebellion and maintain Union control in contested areas. Ulysses S. Grant, 1870, to combat the Ku Klux Klan violence and enforce the Reconstruction laws in the South. Rutherford B. Hayes in 1878 to address the Great Railroad Strike, deploying troops to restore order. Grover Cleveland in 1894 to break the Pullman strike using federal troops to ensure mail delivery and quell labor unrest. Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1957 to enforce desegregation in Little Rock, Arkansas, deploying troops to protect African-American students. John F. Kennedy in 1962 and 63 to enforce desegregation in Mississippi and Alabama against state resistance. So weird. George Bush in 92 to address the Los Angeles riots following the Rodney King verdict. Remember those, John? We were there for that.
Yep.
So we have historical precedent, don't we? POTUS loves him some Andrew Jackson, doesn't he? I'm not a fan of Andrew Jackson, by the way. But anyways, let's continue, shall we?
I will say, how many of those people in the list ahead or up above ended up on our currency? I'm just saying.
That's a fact. Not George Bush, by the way. I don't have a single coin or bill with George Bush's face on it. Okay.
So this is where we're going to start getting a little bit deep. I don't know that I really want to dig into this part of it, so I'm going to skip forward. Bottom line is there is precedent to do what he's doing, and when his back is against the wall, the military seems to be the only way, which is where we are now. With all the judicial blockades we are seeing, it's all making sense to you now why POTUS must use the military. So they've been talking about this possibility that the president would have to use the military, which, remember, this is where, trying not to skip ahead and lose anybody, but I probably already have. If you remember in our intro, Trump says, we have 30,000 beds in Gitmo. Gitmo's a military base. Who would take people to that military base? The police? No. It would be our military. If that's where they're actually going to go, if that's actually what they're going to be using Gitmo and the other black sites for. I just find that interesting.
Can I just comment really quick here, unless you have more and then you want to
go ahead.
After. Just a quick comment. I think this is the problem here is there's the one side, I call them the cabal. I don't want to call them Democrats because they're made up of other people too. The cabal stretches the rubber band so far in one direction, testing every ounce of common sense and decency and evil and everything that goes along with it, that when it snaps, it snaps to an extreme. And all of a sudden it goes so far the other side before it can come back to a natural state. And I think, unfortunately, that could be the case here too. Like the concept of having to have federal police, I'll just say federal police, to catch everything that's governed by federal, not state, to make arrests, to round people up, to make arrests is, in my opinion, is a little bit insane. But I understand. But so it was also so insane to stretch the rubber band all the way out here and open things up and let all the horrendous, heinous things that happened over the last 4 years. It wasn't just people going, hey, I just need a better way of life. These were people that were trafficked along with guns and drugs and all the other bad stuff. It was a horrible situation. Ultimately, millions of people flood into the country and now and create a situation that's just horrendous across the country in many cities. And then people say, well, we're just trying to do a good thing, some of these people now don't have a place to live. They don't have a job. They don't have money. And guess what you do when you're desperate and you're hungry and you don't have a place to sleep and maybe you've got your family? What do? You do whatever you have to in order to take care of your family. Well, that puts them at risk, their family at risk, and the community they're in at risk. So this cabal took it to the extreme, and now it may take it to the extreme on the other side in order to address it. And I tell you, it's horrible. And Trump will be made out to be the biggest villain that's ever walked the earth. He's already been compared to the other one from World War II.
Or maybe not, David. Maybe not. So you're thinking in terms of old ways. You know, where you live right now is not being completely overrun by illegals. You're not in the middle of a Tren de Aragua.
I am not. Right.
Insurrection. So there truly is an insurrection happening. It may not be the entire country, but to summarize, Trump has stated publicly that the Trump card is coming. He said it numerous times on Air Force One to the media. Trump card could have multiple meanings, as I've laid out here. If we truly want to get our country back and invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807, which has been used several times in history, the military is going to be the only way to do it. We have so many blockades that are preventing POTUS from cleaning house. Remember, Trump told Zelensky, "I have all the cards." For those who don't know the Trump card, no other card in the deck has more value than the Trump card. None can beat it. No blockades, no judicial injunctions, nothing. Nothing can stop what is coming. And that has been a theme for a long time now, that nothing can stop what is coming. I just think when it comes down to it, Trump's not afraid of being called a villain. I don't think that bothers him. I think that if in the end the country gets cleaned up and we get our country back, now where we're going next in the show, I think is going to shock and wake up several people. And it's going to tell us all, again, look what's happened in other parts of the world by letting the unfettered, unchecked immigration.
Before you go, I just want to comment, John. It was only a couple of apartment buildings that were taken over by Tren de Aragua. So I don't understand what the big deal is.
I'm sorry.
Mostly peaceful protests. There are a few buildings on
David,
fire.
I have a couple of towns I can drive you to in Texas, and
we have people that don't really understand. So I'm going to jump right in. Listen, it's a thought. It could happen. It might not. It's an option on the board right now. And I think that just the fact that it's an option on the board, it's been talked about for quite a while, that President Trump would invoke the Insurrection Act and ultimately suspend posse comitatus. I think that there's a good possibility it can happen. If you start seeing large deployments of National Guard, they're here to protect you, not to take over, not to hurt you, not to throw a coup. They're just here to make sure that this whole deportation thing happens in an orderly fashion. How about that?
No, I love it. Elle, were you trying to say something else? I couldn't tell if you had any comments.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with John. You know, during the riots,
yeah, could have used them.
There were two sets of riots, I think. I had a buddy of mine who was in the Corps, infantry at Camp Pendleton, and he was deployed. And I can tell you, the local U.S. citizenry thugs who sold drugs in the corner didn't care about the troops there because they know that they were not cops. They didn't. Military doesn't play around, right? You brandish a weapon, I guarantee you, this is not a police force. They're not going to say, "Hey, put the gun down."
Right.
We're going to shoot rounds down range before we tell you to put the gun down. So
I think,
they were very pleasant. And once he was in this unit that rolled up in a really bad part of town, crime ended very fast because the so-called community leaders of the area you know, it was impacting their pockets. So they told everybody, hey, chill.
Oh, it's for real
you
this
know.
time. Yeah, you're right.
So you know, just to add a little flavor there, that it's a different story when you have the military. And I'm not saying that, you know, we're going into the Civil War, but it just, the mindset is different, right?
Yeah.
People support the military in general. People have friends who are in the military and can relate. So I think it would be something that the populace will accept it more. Obviously, the media and those propagandists will be making a big stink about it. But I think just like you see the polls, you know, a lot of American citizens are all for President Trump, you know, getting rid of these illegals and deportations. They're all for it. So
to your point, though, I think that what's happening right now, and you said this earlier, the courts are getting so involved in this and blocking him at every turn. They don't care if it's against the Constitution. They don't care if they're violating the law. They really don't care. What they want to do is slow it down. Now, I'm going to tell you, and I'm just going to end the topic of immigration or illegal immigration on this. The main reason for this illegal immigration on the Democrat side, there's several legs to this stool. One was to create disruption and chaos. Two, they wanted to have a voting bloc. They wanted to bring a voting bloc in that would keep them in power in perpetuity. So
look at California as an example.
You get all of these people in, you allow them to get voter voter, where they can get a driver's license, and that automatically registers them to vote, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what's happening? Trump is taking away some of those legs. He's taking away by bringing in, you've got to have an ID. You got to have a forced ID, a true ID, and that's where I think that this ID, the real ID thing, is coming in. He's also getting rid of USAID. We know now that USAID was doing a lot of money to fund those illegals to stay in here. And three, he's taking these people and moving them out of the country. So I think that all of this stuff has got to be well on its way before the midterms, because if it's not, he's going to lose the midterms.
Right.
And he can't afford to do that. Now, I want to jump into our next topic, which is going to blow these people's minds. I hope that you guys are holding on. Oh, and I just want to mention this to Marie's point. Not only as orderly as they came in, remember, they didn't use due process to get into the country, but now suddenly the Democrats want us to use due process to get them out of the country. It's absolutely.
John, they were being flown in. They were actually being flown in from other countries.
They were being flown in after Trump had taken office.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't stopped all those fights yet.
Hence the extreme nature of what happened. And hence why there might need to be an extreme response. And we've seen it so many times. It's really, look, I personally think it's unfortunate that we have to go there. But I understand. I understand. I don't like it, but I understand it.
We can never take time off again because the algorithm is not pushing us out there. Folks, tell your friends to get in here, hit that like button, hit the thumbs up. Share it out there, do something, because the topic that's coming up next is going to blow your mind, and everyone needs to hear this. If not, definitely tell them about it and have them come back and watch it. I'm going to show you a video right now, and it's going to make you angry.
Uh-oh.
Rather than just one subdivision, an entire city. We are one of the most active and one of the most watched and one of the most prestigious masjids in all of North America. Bihamdillahi wa fadlihi. Not because of me or you. This is Allah's blessings on us. Now, the board and all of us, we thought to ourselves, what if, rather than just accidentally these factors coming together, we actually analyzed what made Epic so significant, and then decided to plan an entire, not just subdivision, not just some cul-de-sacs and an apartment complex. No, what if we were to take the best of what Epic has to offer, and then rather than just 100 houses, maybe 1,000+ houses, rather than just one masjid and one facility, a magnificent complex, rather than just an apartment complex that happens to be here, a purpose-built apartment complex, rather than just one subdivision, an entire city that we advertise to the entire American subcontinent that, look, Epic 1 was such an amazing success. What do you think would happen if we bring forth Epic 2.0? What is going to happen if we bring forth Epic 2.0, taking the best of Epic 1.0 and then purpose building an entire facility, an entire city, not just a subdivision, an entire massive plot of land right here in Dallas. Not 100 houses, 1,000 houses. This is going to be the opportunity of a game changer for the American da'wah scene. Can you imagine an entire city, meaning a district of Dallas? This is still in Dallas, don't worry, right? An entire sub-city of Dallas where purpose-built, we have from top to bottom an infrastructure. We have apartment complexes. We have people's home for elderly, those that need to have elderly people's home, purpose-built assisted facility. We have entire schools. Can you imagine the potential of such a city? Nothing this ambitious has ever been planned before in North America. And there's only one community that inshallah ta'ala can do it. And that is our community right here, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Say inshallah. We are going to go from Epic 1. Epic 1's still going to be here. We're still going to be the best. But Epic 1 is going to take the best that it has and then bring about an Epic 2.0, inshallah ta'ala.
Okay.
Right. So
break it down. What does that mean?
So Epic is the East Plano Islamic District. Islamic Center. Sorry. It is surrounded by a massive mosque. There are several schools. There are several restaurants. There are more than hundreds of houses there now. They are practicing Sharia law. And the mayor of the town where they are is going along with it. Not just going along with it, he's actually helping them. He's letting some of the imams from this Epic Center come into the schools to make sure that the schools are not teaching anything that would offend the Sharia law. Okay, so in case you don't know, everybody thinks Dearborn is the Mecca for, quote, Mecca for Islam in America. It's not. Do you know that New Jersey is number one, Plano is number two? And you've been to Dearborn.
I was going to say, I thought it was Dearborn. I heard you say New
Jersey is number one. I've got, there's a follow-up clip. I want to show you this. This will blow your mind. Let me bring this one up here.
So could I move to that city if I wanted to live there? Would they let me in?
No, you couldn't. You couldn't.
Well, that goes against
our law.
Yes.
I was going to say it violates our federal laws.
Hang on. It gets so much better, David. You're going to love this.
My name is Douglas Deaton, and I'm a resident of Collin County. I retired from the Plano Police Department after 26 years of full-time law enforcement service, and I dealt with representatives of EPIC many times when I was the sergeant for the Plano Police Department, the training sergeant for the Plano PD. There seems to be a general misunderstanding that we're talking about a plan to build an Islamic Sharia-friendly community. The EPIC neighborhood already exists in Plano. It's been there for nearly 12 years. With 74 residential properties, a massive mosque, schools, a medical clinic, and multiple businesses. It also has an office of an Islamic financing institution called the UIF Corporation. The UIF Corporation is not a bank. It's a Michigan-based corporation whose publicly stated purpose is to, quote, engage in financial transactions that are Sharia compliant, end quote. Those are their words, not mine. Local government officials south of here have known for years that only Muslims can purchase homes inside that neighborhood. You have to be a member of their mosque to live there. The first house built in that neighborhood was built right next to the Plano Police Academy. It's a huge structure with two separate front doors. The rear of the property is just a few feet from a large outdoor warning siren. The house has a large second-story platform overlooking the restricted access parking lot where the police department stored specialized vehicles such as bomb trucks, bomb disposal equipment, and the SWAT team's armored vehicle. I am a court-recognized expert in SWAT team tactics and procedures. That house has all the hallmarks of a fortress and a command post. The rear of the house looks a lot like an observation post and a shooting platform. Why would somebody choose to build a house so close to a giant warning siren and a police training site? Why would someone build a huge platform overlooking all those specialized police emergency vehicles? The first owner of that house is a leader in the Epic neighborhood, and he is also the co-founder of the Yaqeen Institute for Islamic Research. And I urge everyone to visit their website and read what it has to say about instituting Sharia law. This is not a matter of radicals hiding in plain sight. They're not hiding. They've been open about their beliefs and their intent. Local government decision makers have failed to ask hard questions for fear of negative publicity and being labeled as bigots. I'm not here to spread innuendo or to make unfounded accusations. I'm asking everyone to simply look at the evidence and the confirmed facts that are already in existence. Thank you for your time, Judge.
Wow.
Kind of leaves you speechless, huh?
It's tough. We're a country that's, blended people, and it's not just about being tolerant, but it's about embracing and accepting people that are different. Of all individual differences, right? Like that, we're a melting pot. We should be. But if you have a group of people that are deliberately building a community that, and he's talking about a security threat specifically, I'm going back in my mind to the other piece, which is this is a community where in order to be into this community, you have to belong to this religious belief. That's not what this country's about. It's also illegal, and it's illegal everywhere. I think it's a federal law. Keep me honest here. And John, I've been in and around real estate for a long time, and I've rented properties before. There's lots of laws around discriminating against people who can buy from you, rent from you, and for good reason, right? What they're doing, if that's true, it violates those laws completely.
Yeah. I mean, it absolutely does. I'm just showing you the website. I can put this in the chat so that people can go to the Yaqeen website if you want to. And there's all kinds of fun things in there, like how to get closer to Allah, secrets of, I don't know what kind of, whatever divine language, as well as this one really caught my eye. If I can find, they took it down. No, they didn't.
And I do think there's a difference between building a community where people of a certain religious group want to be, right? I think about some of the places in Utah, for LDS. And I think even in Montana, you've got a few communities there that are smaller but if that's where you want to, you identify as part of that way of living, a religious belief, then you want to be in that community. I don't think they say you can't live here if you're not, right? Just like in Utah, they have communities that are very strong LDS communities, and I don't think they kick you out if you're Jewish or Christian, some other, right. But if they said, no, you can't be here because you're not LDS, that would violate, first off, they would want you to come in so they can help you learn a different way of life. But
so go back to what the lieutenant said. He said that they have their own financial center. All of the houses need to be financed through that financial center to make sure that they are meeting Sharia law. And if you can only get your financing for those homes through that center, then you and I are not, I'm assuming you're not a Muslim, you and I are not allowed.
I think what he said was they follow.
No, I know. What I'm saying is that there's additional information. What he said was they have their own banking system.
Right.
And in order to buy one of those houses, I've got like 10 different clips on this thing, and I'm not going to have time to show them all. I do have one where
I'll stop slowing you down.
No,
I'm all fired up around that. Don't discriminate against me because I'm not Muslim. Maybe I want to live there because it's a beautiful community and everyone there takes care of their houses and mows their lawn and doesn't throw their trash in the street, maybe I feel safe in that neighborhood. But if you tell me I can't live there because I'm not Muslim, well, that's a different story. Now I don't feel so good about it.
Right. And that's the big point. That's the difference, right?
Yeah.
So I have to shut down those windows and reopen them because I got that same warning that I keep getting. So I'm gonna have to start over, doggone it. But I can still get there pretty quickly. Another video here for you. This one's not new, but it certainly is spreading. This one's from a couple years back, but this is spreading. Oops, sorry, let me do this. Where's my producer when I need him?
Come on, Scott. I always blame Scott.
We're gonna have to tap dance so we don't lose our audience.
Here we go.
Yeah, and that whole idea.
Say they're alarmed after seeing Muslim community patrols driving through their neighborhoods in what looked like police squad cars. One America's Pearson Sharp has the details.
New Yorkers say they're shocked after seeing Muslim patrol cars roaming their neighborhoods like police squads. These Muslim community patrols just began operating in Brooklyn this year, with members dressed like police officers and driving cars identical to police squad cars. Even other Muslims have raised questions about the need for the patrols, with residents expressing fears this is just another form of Sharia law enforcement in the area. Others denounce residents for drinking, claiming this is a Muslim area and alcohol is not permitted.
Say they're alarmed after seeing Muslim community patrols.
Sorry about that. So that's happening, not just in New York. That's happening in many places. Here is another fun video for you. This one, I just love this. I don't love this. It actually makes, and I've showed you videos like this before. This makes me angry, and I shouldn't be angry. I should be a calm and peaceful man.
Muslim mosque to play prayer over loudspeaker 5 times a day from their mosque. So anybody in the surrounding area who's non-Muslim has to hear it. And they start this early morning and play them till late at night. Currently, Minnesota, year-round since April 2023. Michigan, Dearborn since 1970. Hamhock since 2004. New Jersey, Patterson since 2020. New York, 5 times a day since 2023. I bring this up because they're building mosques all over the United States, from Florida all the way up to New York, to Oregon, and all the way down to California. Here in Texas, we have the second most number of mosques built already. Will probably be number 1 by the end of the year. Yet the population here is half or less than half of what it is in Jersey, where it's the highest Muslim population. So why are there so many being built here in Texas if the population is not that great? Because it's an open call to come. They're building them like the movie says, if you build it, they will come. Same premise. Same premise. If we don't get louder, we're going to have to listen to that.
So I want to say, too, it's not just a call to prayer. Everyone's, it's a very peaceful call to prayer. We need to allow it. One of the reasons that they do that call to prayer and they make it so that everyone has to hear it is because that is a symbol of conquering the territory. That is like a celebration of conquering the territory. That means they're in charge now. They won.
Right, John. I wanted to make a comment here. Not necessarily for what they're doing. Yes, it's happening. But this is a failure of our government that was supposed to look out for us, making sure that our laws are being followed. You know, you had all of this USID corruption money. And this is, you know, I've said this before in a few episodes. As U.S. citizens, we have to get involved. We can't just sit on our laurels or sit on our butts and go, oh, yeah, well, I went and I voted. We got to get involved. We don't get involved. That's what these folks are doing, right? They're actively involved. And I think that the way that we counter that is by holding our elected officials to task and getting involved. We can't just sit back and say, well, you know, I show up every November and I vote and then I go along with my day. We have a duty as a U.S. citizen to hold our elected officials accountable and just be involved. Can't have a head in the sand, you know. And as a veteran, it disgusts me that our politicians really don't care about us unless you're in their face, and we have to do that. We have to, you know. Other
I
groups
think
do a great job. We need to wake up and say, you know what, we need to get involved.
Yeah, I think this is another example of if you allow it to move too far in one extreme direction, there's a snapback response. And and I also say that the communities that tend to thrive and do their best are the ones where people do assimilate, right? If you or I were to move to another country, well, you did move to this country, El. So,
Mhm.
but if I were to move to another country, if I want to be successful in that country, the best thing that I can do for myself and for the community is to learn how to assimilate. And if I choose to live in that country, to become part of the community there, that's how I add value, and that's how I can be, be successful and enjoy the quality of my life. But if I go there deliberately and say, I'm not gonna assimilate, and I'm gonna build or join a community of people that are also not assimilating, and we're going to keep other people from joining our community unless they join wholly, right? Then now that's different, and now you'll have a
Right.
struggle. And the
But that's a
more
failure of our government not doing anything about it. The Texas video that John showed was great example of,
Yeah.
The folks that retired officers talking to, they're just going to roll their eyes because it's who's
Right.
going to grease their pockets is who they're going to listen to and allow it.
Well, and the
That's
problem
plain
is
and
nobody
simple.
wants. He even said it. Nobody wants to be, tagged a bigot. No one,
Right.
because that's what they're great at doing. And by the way, it's been said over and over again by Islamic leaders or imams or whatever they are, that they will defeat us using our own laws.
Right.
They will defeat us using our own laws. So, David, I like what you had to say. You should assimilate. That's where it works usually, but they're not assimilating. You know what they're going to do? And they've said this over and over again. They're going to outpopulate us. They're going to outpopulate us. This is displacement, not immigration. Muslims now majority in Vienna schools as Freedom Party sounds alarm over the great replacement. I'm going to go down and let you take a look at this. Viennese schools, Muslim majority Viennese schools. 10 years ago, it was only secondary schools. 5 years ago, it was only the elementary schools. Now all schools. Tomorrow, the whole city. Look at this breakdown of religious beliefs. Islam, 41.2%. Christianity, 34%. So the majority now is Islam. It just never was the way before. And again, if they were assimilating, if they were coming in just being peace-loving Buddhists, fine. Come on in. We'd love to have you. But that's not what they're doing. What they're doing is, look what just happened over in India.
Mm-hmm.
Over in India, they had a terrorist attack where they went to a resort. The terrorists went to a resort. They were asking people, they weren't asking, they were demanding people strip naked, getting their IDs, asking them their religious affiliation, and shooting them dead as soon as they gave them an answer other than Islam.
Yeah. That and yeah. And I know this is tough, right? Because again, you want to look past someone's religious belief and see the person, see human.
Right.
And it's tough when you hear stories like that, because then you say something about the belief system encourages that, or people read people read into the belief system, and that's what they come away with, and then they act on that. That's really tough.
Yeah, it is, David. I mean, I'm in tech. You're in tech. It's a melting pot of a lot of cultures.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And we
Some
look
really
beyond.
smart,
We look beyond
talented people. Yeah.
We look beyond religion, skin color, what have you. It's about problem solving.
Yeah.
The tech
Yeah.
industry is truly about solving human problems. Right? Yeah, we use technology to enable people, but is to solve these business processes or business problems that humans encounter every day.
Yeah.
And that was my point is, I grew up in a place in Southern California where there was a big influx of Vietnamese refugees from the war, right? There was a lot of animosity and hatred towards them in a mostly one group in Southern California in the 70s and 80s. And I have friends that I went to high school with that were Vietnamese, right? They didn't get into, they didn't want the US to go bomb there. The US bombed there, and the politicians they thought that they were helping. They just brought a bunch of people over, but those folks didn't assimilate. They built their own communities, right? Same deal with the Gulf Wars. We went over there, we bombed all these things for what? To bring some of these folks now who are building these societies in our country. To me, that's the result of the failure of our politicians, not necessarily what they're actually acting. Yes, they're violating law and all that good stuff that we just talked about here, but I guess I'm trying to look beyond that, right? And not look at somebody down the street with a funky eye, because that's happened to me. I'm Hispanic.
Sure. Yeah.
I've had that happen to me in my life, and I look beyond that, right? As a veteran, I look beyond that, and I'm look at, okay, what is the place that failed us in our society, to your point, that really brought people here that should have known how to assimilate?
How do you
You
not?
got to
How do you
look at
not
the corruption
encourage?
of our government that
How do you not
didn't set
encourage
the
it?
standards, right? Sorry,
Yeah,
go
how
ahead,
do you
Dave.
not encourage it? Like, create the culture of, and assimilate doesn't mean abandon, your language. Doesn't mean abandon your customs. It doesn't mean abandon your history
Right.
or culture. But it does mean that you live in a society with lots of other people who are also from all over the world, and they too want to live peacefully with each other and dine at the same restaurants or eat in or go to the same park or maybe go to the same school. And how do you not say, I want to be part of the community and we all learn and grow from each other? But if you say, no, I'm going to build a community that's separate, and Sharia courts, great. Every religion has each religion's got its own. There's some core laws, but then religions have their own. They have a set of rules, some set of laws, and within the religion, if you break some of those laws, there are some penalties. Now, those penalties may not include being stoned or imprisoned or, something like that. I don't know what happens if you violate a Sharia.
But you cannot compare Sharia law to any other religion on earth. You just can't. Sharia law is a whole set of laws that apply only to the Muslim faith, and it is the law. It is the law of the land. It is above any other law. So the laws of the U.S. mean nothing to them. They couldn't care less. And there are videos that you can find all over X of men beating their women in public and being encouraged to do so by other Muslim men because a woman either looked at someone else, they didn't do their hijab right, and that is not just acceptable, it's it's law.
Right, John.
Let me agree with you that when you violate the law of this country, whether it's regardless, federal, state, it doesn't matter. You violate a law of this country, that supersedes your religious belief. It supersedes the laws of your religion. That's it. And you may not like it. That's too bad. If I were to move to a country that was predominantly Islamic and the Sharia is the overarching laws in that country, and I violate one of those laws, that's it. Then I will be held accountable based on those laws. Same things here. So if you beat your spouse, your wife, because she wore her job incorrectly, you violated the law here and you should be prosecuted.
Right. I agree with you, David. I mean, I just had my dad visiting me, 82 years old. He's retired. He's been retired 18 years. Great career in the U.S., right? Immigrant, legally U.S. citizen. He was telling me the other day, he said, can you believe these folks that literally just walked across the border? They just come already with demands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. He said, you know, when we got our work permits, our whole purpose was to assimilate. There was an expectation, and that was the U.S. culture then, and that was the government culture. When you came in as an immigrant, there was an expectation of you to assimilate to the U.S. We never lost our language, right? I speak my language. I tell folks, hey, I'm originally born from Guatemala. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm proud of that. But when I conduct myself in business outside of the house, I follow our country's laws.
That's right.
You know, that's just the
I'm
way
gonna
it
go
is.
back to what happened in Orange County with the Vietnamese, because I lived in that area as well. Yeah, people were upset because they weren't assimilating. They started their own little Vietnam. And by the way, throughout California, there's little Vietnam, there's little China, there's little Japan, there's all these littles. But they never tried to force their ways on you. They just didn't assimilate.
Right. My point there, John, was it was a failure of our politicians to set the expectation.
I agree.
And I agree with you. I agree. There's different levels of the religions and cultures, but we needed to set an example or a bar, and our politicians really don't care. I mean, look, they're trying to replace us with illegals. That's the last 4 years, right? I live in a state that's 1 million people. They laid in 7.5 million people, 7 times
Actually,
the amount of population of the state that I live in now. That's ridiculous.
11.9 is what they let in over the last 4 years.
Oh,
there was only
even more.
7.2 contacts. So
Sorry,
right.
But that's my point. It's
Yeah.
that
I agree.
that's my point. That's the failure, right? And so we need to hold people accountable. We have to get involved.
So
You're
we call it a
talking
failure,
about-
but it's a success to them. They think that that's completely successful. That was their plan. Remember, there are two factions here. There are the good guys and the bad guys. I'm calling them the good guys and the bad guys. There are people that want to destroy America.
Right.
And the best way to destroy America is allowing this, let people come in and take over. The other one is allow unfettered access to our state or to our country and allow them to vote and allow them to overthrow what is our nation. You don't have a nation if you don't have a border. I know it sounds cliche, but that's the way it is.
No,
I agree 100% with you. I think we need to. I don't want our audience to look at other people funky in the street. Let's aim that energy beyond that. Get to know somebody. Obviously, there's jerks in every group. There is. I don't like LeBron James. He's a horrible person. You know,
I don't know, but I'll go back to, you made a comment earlier, and I think this is kind of how my mindset is too, El. We work with a lot of people I work with people from all over the world.
Yep.
And I absolutely love it. I love that they have a different way of thinking about things. They have different sayings. These are some of the smartest people on the planet. I'm humbled that I get to work with such incredible people.
Right.
And they're from all different religious beliefs, by the way, including Muslim. I absolutely love it. And, as part of the community, it's awesome. It's exciting. But I think that the commonality is we're looking to work together for some purpose. And that's the piece that if you don't have that, you don't have a community. So that is missing. And I've said this for a long time, and I'm starting to hear this more and more, from different politicians that speak, but you started by breaking down the family unit. So now you don't have mom and dad in the home or two spouses in the home, pick a gender, I don't care. You don't have two parents. You're discouraged from having kids. Your local community is broken, right? So, you're discouraged from belonging to a church or synagogue or what have you. You're discouraged from being involved if you have children in your children's lives in school. Like every single fundamental, the fabric of our community has been broken, starting with what happens inside the house. Yeah. And then you get to a scale, a national scale, or maybe it shouldn't say national because maybe it's different in parts of Montana, right? But at scale, and then you have people just trying to fend for themselves, be an individual, fend for yourself, look out for yourself. Well, if it's no doubt, then people come and they don't feel like they're part of the community trying to drive to a common purpose. So anyways, that's my take on it. I was ranting.
That's okay. You had a rant. I'm going to move right on to some more things. So we did cover the immigration issue. We covered the Muslim issue in America. Now we're going to start going back and talk about our favorite MS-13 poor baby immigrant.
Oh,
But it gets
just
better.
misunderstood.
Governor Pritzker of Illinois has decided that he's going to take actions, punitive actions.
Oh, that's a great picture of him. Sorry.
Right? He's going to take punitive actions against El Salvador for facilitating the deportation of an MS-13 gang member. The Democrat Party, Democrat. I love
You call him Democrat?
I did. It was a Freudian slip, but it's a good one, right? The
Yeah.
Democrat Party is utterly embarrassing.
Yeah. What is he going to do? We're going to sanction El Salvador. What is New Jersey going to do to sanction El Salvador? What are you going to say? You're not going to allow El Salvadorians to visit New Jersey? Is that what you're going to do?
Well, you're thinking of the other big guy, Christie. That was a big guy from Illinois.
From Illinois.
Oh, from Illinois. Sorry, Pritzker. I was thinking of Christie. Yeah, you're right. That was.
You're not fat shaming, are you, David?
Sorry. I'm not in a position to fat shame anyone. You're right. By the way, the people in Illinois are not happy. I don't have any clips for you tonight, but you go and listen to some of the clips from town halls, school board meetings. The people there are not happy. They don't have money. They're still being taxed. They don't have services, but they have a lot of migrants who are receiving all kinds of services, and the people there are not happy.
It's even worse, David. Sorry, John. Just a quick note. The mayor of Chicago has a 7% approval rating or favorable rating. 7%.
And that's, you wonder who are those people that voted yes.
Right.
All right. So we talked about suspending posse comitatus. Now let's talk about suspending. Are you ready for this? Habeas corpus.
When your own intelligence apparatus around the president is trying to undercut him so he has no standing in the court when he does exactly what you say he has to do, which is suspend habeas corpus and start rolling him out of here, brother.
Well, is that the same deep state that indicted him 4 times? We don't care what they say, okay? We have common sense. We watched our country be invaded for 4 years by 10 to 15 million illegal aliens, many of them men of fighting age, okay? And when I say suspend the writ, not only is this a constitutional power in Article 1, Section 9, but we're not even suspending it for American citizens, okay? There's none of that. These are illegal aliens. They do not have a right to be here. They get deported. If the courts want to stop us, we go around the courts by using constitutional authority to do so. And the president who used this the most is the Democrats' favorite president of all time, FDR, okay? FDR used it. Abraham Lincoln used it, and Ulysses S. Grant used it. And you know what? They're all their faces are on our money, okay? They ended up being pretty good looking in historical hindsight, and Trump has the chance to do that. We have to normalize this. You cannot allow 20 million illegal aliens to invade our country and allow them to stay. This is an invasion. That is what an invasion is. Time to start taking drastic action. I understand what President Trump is doing. He's going through the process. He's exposing that Democrat Marxist judges are going to stop him every step of the way. At a certain point, I feel he's going to have no decision but to do this. And you know what? If he stands strong and he does it, he'll win in a landslide in the midterms, because this is what Americans want on both sides of the aisle.
Oof. Again, just like federal police in our cities, that would not go over very well. I mean,
no, it would go over well, David. So the problem is you're insulated where you're at, and you're also surrounded by people that are very much on the same side as you right now. Is that they wouldn't be okay with that? But there are places in this country that are completely overrun, and people are begging for help. You know, how about all the farmers down in Texas that are getting overrun? Things are getting destroyed in their country. Or in their state. And what happens? Nothing. They call the police. The police said, okay, I'm sorry. There's nothing they can do. People are begging for the extreme measures right now.
By the way,
mayor of New York, it's a good example, right?
Yeah.
He's out of money.
Yeah.
He's out of money, and he's got a problem. He doesn't have a way to house
Same
people. By the way, I am 100% all in on every violent every person that's here that's part of one of those gangs or is acting violently and committing crime here, like first bus out of town. I like, to me, this is a no-brainer. It's super easy.
I know.
We focus our energy there. I get it. And by the way, for those people that are harboring somebody who's in that class, like, you go too, or you suffer the legal consequences. I think there's a judge that just was found to be harboring somebody who is a violent, undocumented person who is here illegally. It's like, that's where you put your focus, because those are the folks that today physically threaten the communities. You know how I feel. This is a tough part, right? I have a soft spot for the common person who just wants to make their way through life, who felt like they were invited. I already know you have the counter argument. You don't have to say it. That person, it's hard. I have a hard time with it.
It's not hard. They're taking money out of your pocket and out of the pockets of your children and out of the pockets of your neighbors. They're taking from the society. And they don't have a right to take from the society. I don't care if they were invited in. It's not legal for them to be here. It's not legal for them to take the money that they're taking. They have to go.
What I would argue, John, is that many of those people, well, I will argue is that many of those people, they're for their own dignity. They want to work. They want to earn their own way. They want
There's a program for that. There's a program for that.
I agree with you.
Visa.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, get your worker visa.
Right. By the way, I have 100% agreement with that. So from bottom up, and I hope this is part of the process that's happening today in our immigration process, it needs to be overhauled, and we need a much more organized and speedier process to say yes or no. And if it's a yes, great. Yes. And you can work. And now you can go learn a trade, and you can go work, and you can do all the things that you wanted to do. Find your dreams. Welcome to America.
Let's let the resident immigrant who waited in line and did things the right way weigh in.
17 years. I had to wait
By the
2
way,
extra years because I joined the military.
Right. By the way,
No,
I think,
David, I agree with you.
Right.
David, I agree with you. And something that I don't know if I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, I have family members who are teachers in a blue state, and they mentioned to me that the population in their classrooms has diminished 30 to 40%. So people are self-deporting. These are the workers that you're talking about, because they want to come back legally. So folks are self-deporting. Unfortunately, to John's point, there's a lot of military age people that came not from South, but were flown in from across the pond, from North Africa and some of those countries, because that's the plan of the globalists. That's what they're. I mean, you look at London; it doesn't even look like London anymore. Those folks need to be ejected from our country, right? Their goal is not to come in and work and bring their families. Their goal is to conquer. So yes, unfortunately, some families that came from South, they're going to have to go through the process. I don't want to sound heartless, but we have to do something. I mean, look, my dad was just admitted to the ER the other day because he broke his foot, right? It hurts me to know that we were thinking about how we're going to pay for this, right? Because he has retirement and insurance, where people that just flew in got a $6,000-$7,000 cash car from our taxes, from the taxes that my dad worked 40 years as an owner operator. He owned 5 rigs. He had drivers, right? So he had a small business. All of that work went to nothing thanks to our lousy politicians over the last 4 years who gave away all this money. So I'm sorry. I agree with John. We need to clean house and start over with a process that works.
Yeah. By the way, no argument for a couple things. One, I think people that come in our country the correct way, there should be I think Roger made the comment, right? We need a process that is faster, yes or no. And if it's a yes, great. And there's a program and there's an outline to it. And you, as a person who's been admitted and now admitted here legally, and you're under visa, maybe, until you can apply for a green card, then now and you have a time, the clock is ticking for whether there's assistance or not. By the way, other countries require that if you want to move to their country, you've got to bring your own means. If you want to move to Australia or Scotland, you got to bring a bank account. You don't just show up without money.
Now, I've been in tech for 28 plus years, and my biggest challenge is H-1B visas. So people are abusing that. Companies are abusing that. And they downsize employees. You and me, we're U.S. citizens.
Yeah,
we're always in tech up against. Hey, we have H-1B visas because we greased the DC, so we get to bring in these smart guys, but we're going to pay them half of what a U.S. citizen should make. So it's not just the legals; it's also the abuse of the current legal process. And there's victims everywhere. Number one, U.S. citizens, obviously, right? We don't get paid what we're supposed to. We've been flat now for about 8 years. Those folks that are coming in, they're just as educated as I am. They should be getting paid, but they're not, right? Because these corporations hang this H-1B visa over their head. And of course, they want to be part of the American dream. So they'll do whatever it takes. And they do take a third to half of what they would pay us American citizens off just to have an opportunity to come over here legally. Now, these are H-1B visa, worker visa employees.
I have heard that.
So,
I have heard
so
that.
to
I haven't
me,
met anybody who falls into
yeah.
that, but I have heard that happens.
Yeah. So to me, I agree with John. We need to do a revamp top down, and I'm hopeful that President Trump and his administration have a plan for that.
I had a guy who came to my house one time when I lived in another state, knocked on my front door, and he said, and this goes to, I think, both of your points here. He says, "Can I wash your car?" And I'm like, "No, man, I get my car washed down the street." And he goes, "Look, I charge $25 a car. I got a crew. If you don't like it, you don't pay me." He goes, "Just give me a chance to wash your car." And I go, "No, I get my car washed down the street." He goes, "I know." He goes, "I've washed your car down there many times. I used to work there. The problem is immigration comes and they shut the place down every weekend, and they make us sit on the curb. And all of us that are here legally and love this country, we have to sit there and wait while they check all of our papers." And he goes, "And every week they haul away, a dozen people." He goes, "I decided I'm going to do this my own way. I'm going to start my own company." And he goes, "I found your truck because I've washed your truck many times." And he goes, "I love this country so much. I named my daughter America."
Oh.
Honestly, it brings me to tears because he truly loved it. So I let him wash my car, let him wash all of we had 3 cars in the house, let him wash all the cars every single week, every single time. The guy did an amazing job. He only hired people that had green cards or were here, on permanent status. And I ended up telling everybody in my neighborhood about him. It turned out to the point where I'm like, "Hey, man, don't you dare put someone else ahead of me. I was here first." But he loved the country so much and that's who I want here. I want people.
I agree. I agree with you, by the way. And that's an example of somebody who's doing the job that, we can all point to, because we've heard a lot of that lately too. Who's going to pick our fruit and who's going to do all the jobs that no one else wants to do, which is honestly, I really hate that argument. But the people that come here who lived, by the way, I've seen these houses with houses that don't have windows, have dirt floors, and they're lucky to have what they would consider to be a shelter. They get here and they find they can rent an apartment that not only has windows and the doors that lock, but a bathroom, we take that all for granted. We live in the bubble. So when they come and they're like, "Yes, I will wash your car for $25. At that time, I'm sure it's 50 now, but I'll wash your car.
Oh, he wasn't cheap. Trust me. And to detail, it was a lot of money, but he was worth every penny.
And he was proud, and he was doing it with his own hands, and he was proud of it. That is freaking awesome. I love it. And these are the same people who go on to learn all of the trades. And ultimately, by the way, many of them do go on to become white collar professionals. I was going to say professionals, but I met an electrician today who's from, I think he's Russian, and Russian immigrant, incredible electrician. By the way, probably has, 10x whatever small money I have in my bank account in his bank account because he's a dang good electrician. But he came here with very little to almost nothing, worked hard, established himself, built a business, And now he is successful. He's not big. He's not a big corporation, but he's successful. That's the guy we want in our country.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt here because we could go on and on. Honestly, we could do an entire show on this subject. However, we're winding down, and there's a couple of things I wanted to get into. You guys, you've seen this Abrego Garcia, the one that everybody is fawning to keep in America. Oh, bring him back, bring him back. He's just a father and everything else. No, he was an MS-13 gang member, not just a gang member. He was actually in their leadership. The tattoo on his hand only happens if you are one of the members of leadership. So it wasn't just some hang-around guy. He wasn't just somebody who was a wannabe. If you got caught with that tattoo on your hand and you weren't a member of leadership, you'd get your hand cut off. So, and there's a picture of he and his wife, and he's got his arms around his wife over the front of her, and his wife posted it on Facebook. And what she did was she posted hearts over the top of the hand so that people couldn't see that he was an MS-13 gang member. So anyway, we've got all these people going down there trying to bring him back. And I just kept asking myself, why? Why are they fighting so hard for one immigrant gangbanger? One illegal immigrant gangbanger. And by the way, you know, the president of El Salvador is saying, hey man, first of all, he's an El Salvadorian. He belongs here, and he belongs in prison because he's violated our laws and the US laws. So he's staying in prison. And by the way, you people that came down here, you don't get to see him and you're not taking him home. The one California congressperson says, I'm not going anywhere until I take him with me. And he's like, well, you're either going to wait a long time or you're going to be forcefully deported, one of the two. So I'm questioning why. Then I remember back to the Intel boards. The Intel board said that this guy, Seth Rich, by the way, if you don't know who Seth Rich was, he was a member of the DNC in the party. He was a party chairperson, and he was an active member working under Hillary, among others. It is said, it's not been proven, but it's said, FBI probably has these files, that he actually took a zip drive from the server at the DNC that had all of the Podesta emails, the Hillary emails, everything else that she had wiped out, both of them had wiped out. He took those and gave them to WikiLeaks, which is why WikiLeaks ended up with all of those. They kept on saying, oh, it was Russia. Russia did it. It wasn't Russia. It was Seth Rich. And I think that that's going to come out soon. Well, after he had done that, Seth Rich was found unalived with apparently 2 pew-pews to the back of the skull. And they said, oh, he did it himself, self-inflicted. 2 times to the back?
2
Not
times
right.
to the back.
Then it was a robbery, remember?
Right, and it was a robbery. But they said that the Intel boards said that the bad guys, I'm just going to leave it at that, hired MS-13 members to do that. Why? Because they're easy to get them to do it. It's cheap. And if you need to dispose of them, that's easy too. And one of them was disposed of. The other one was never seen again, or they didn't know where to get him. There is a lot of questioning about whether or not it's him, that this Abrego Garcia, the guy that actually took part in this particular thing. Now, time will tell. I think we're gonna know more as things can continue. I think that there is active information coming out. That's one of the files that they're going to drop, is the Seth Rich files among all of the others that are coming out. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. And David, I know you want to see the Las Vegas files that are coming soon too.
Oh, yes.
Well, John, so usually if you look at all the theories, this theory is about 3 to 4 weeks ahead of its time, which I think all of the theory, I think we're running out of theories, right? Everything's come true. And I think it's usually the window, if you look at the last few, it's usually about 3 to 4 weeks. So the next 3 to 4 weeks are going to be very interesting.
Well, they said there's a couple things. And by the way, we are going to come back to, we didn't forget about the Pope. We're going to talk about the Pope. But with the Pope's services on Saturday, we thought we'd have more to say on Sunday's show. So we will talk about the Pope and all of our theories there as well on Sunday. But I do want to show you this. I always like a good takedown. You know, takedowns are fun. And here is our friend Jesse Waters taking down Jessica Tarloff. If you don't know who Jessica is, she's the most unlikable person on Fox.
Well, Jessica keeps on saying there's all these mistakes. First, she said this guy was picked up because he had a Bulls hat. And then he has tattoos on his hand that spell MS-13.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Read the symbolism,
true.
Jessica. What are you, a gang detective? Cut it out.
I just
And then
haven't
he's
read
wearing
it.
paraphernalia that says the slogan for MS-13. And then he gets caught up in a gang sweep with ranking members of MS-13 as part of a murder investigation. Then gets pulled over and he's suspected of human trafficking. Then gets accused of slugging his wife twice, and she has it on video. And suddenly his name isn't Maryland Dad, it's Due Process. You transitioned pretty quickly, Jessica. And to say this administration never admits a mistake, you guys never admitted you opened the border for 4 years.
Yes, we did.
Come on. You're saying this guy you're saying this guy's afraid to go home? Because that's funny. In 2019, when he was popped, he said he wasn't afraid to go home, Jessica. Funny that you're in due process now after bringing us the Me Too movement, cancel culture, and the Trump trials. You can't break into the country and ignore the process of coming here and then want a process to leave. You cannot cut the line to come here and then ask to be put in a line to go home. If you guys are going to be the defense attorneys for every criminal gangbanger in America, after you've allowed the gangs to invade and now say all of them need lawyers, it's going to be an eternity, Jessica, to get these people out of here. Johnny went to Baltimore, and the people of Maryland are laughing at you. Blacks, Hispanics, whites, they think it's ridiculous what Van Hollen has done to be able to defend foreign rights instead of the rights of the American people. And the slippery slope argument. Is this the slipperiest slope you've ever seen? If they deport an MS-13 terrorist, you're next. Who? The Puerto Ricans? Anybody with a tan, Jessica? Are you next? No one believes that. This is the dictator hoax all over again. And you lost on that the last time.
He's so right. He's absolutely right.
He's very good too. I mean, the guy, he's just dead on all the time. Okay. Next fun fact. You ready for this one? This was called Byron Donalds and Benny Johnson go to a Tesla dealership.
Oh,
good. Listen, when you're running for governor, everywhere is your district. I'm trying to figure out what it is you guys are actually doing.
Nazi.
You do realize that Nazis don't like black people, right? What do you want us to agree on?
Congress, because I was just in DC on Monday for Trans Visibility, and I would like you, as a member of Congress, to rise up and support LGBTQ plus youth and stop this insane attack on our children who know who they are. Because you're a fascist. You're a trace.
Because I do not believe in the mutilation of children, I'm a fascist now. And I asked you a question. I asked you a question, and then you said you don't agree with me.
My children.
I asked you a question. You call me a fascist. You call me a race traitor, and you want me to agree with you? What are you talking about, ma'am?
Are you against election legal? I am against the Republican Party of Florida for having control of the governor's mansion for 25 years.
What policy in Florida the last 25 years that you don't agree with?
All right, what I believe you should do right now is study the law.
But sir, I spent 4 years in the legislature.
And I wrote
some of the laws.
Right, I know you wrote some of the laws.
So I'm asking you, which one?
All right. There are too many to name right now.
Last question. Seriously, last question. New York or Florida? Which state is governed better? New York.
Why don't you live in New York? Why don't you live in New York?
All I'm gonna say is
because I live in Florida.
People choose Florida. They've been coming here more than going the other way. When you vote with your feet, it matters.
I'm gonna come to your district and register a lot of poor people. I'm going to register them. I'm going to get the felons that have had their voting rights taken away that don't even know they can vote still now. I worked on felons voting rights in Florida 7 years ago.
You ready?
I'm going to come to your district. I'm going to register so many people. I have nothing but time.
Do you remember the amendment about restoration of voting rights? You ready? I endorsed it. I supported it. Thank you.
Oh!
I'm trying to figure out who are the Nazis now.
I think you guys, I don't understand.
I'm a Nazi? What are you talking
there's
about?
3 show the Nazi salute that Elon gave.
What do you mean? Which one? You do it.
No, you do it.
I'm trying to figure out who are the Nazis and where are they?
Oh, the Republicans are the Nazi party.
Why do you say that?
Because they supported Nazis.
Who's a Nazi?
Elon Musk is a Nazi.
Based upon what?
Based on the Nazi salute, the not saying he didn't do it. Why did he not the Nazi? So why should 325,000 people go bankrupt every year because of doctors' bills?
The current law for healthcare is a Democrat law.
Oh, yeah.
The Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. Deductibles are higher.
Okay.
Premiums are higher.
What's your solution?
People are not actually getting the care that they need because Democrats don't want to do anything. They want to keep it the way it is.
Affordable care, yes, for now. Until you find something
Until
better.
what?
Until you find something
What's better?
You tell me. What are we doing about it?
Brother, if you have solutions, I want to work with you on that. We can actually help fix mental health issues. We can work on that. We can work
That's
on
actually
that.
beautiful.
This is a beautiful thing.
You shouldn't start by calling people Nazis. Look at this.
She called me a Nazi and it went downhill.
Your next governor.
That's
actually great. Can you give a
Listen,
handshake?
I've never seen a black Nazi in my life. That's crazy. But
Give a
okay.
handshake.
You want to do? You want to shake
Look at
hands?
that. That's incredible.
Listen, you know what?
Can I get one quick thing? Can you apologize to him for calling him Nazi up to his face?
I don't think you're a Nazi right now.
I promise you, I'm not a Nazi at all. No, what I am, I'm a conservative.
Hearts and minds, man. Hearts and minds.
baby.
Hearts and minds.
You know the sad part, John.
I think you are right now.
Here's the sad part. A lot of these people, they're paid shills. Have you seen the Craigslist posts for these folks? They actually get paid like $15 an hour.
Serious?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
these are all fake. These are all. That's why when Byron Donalds is asking them specific questions, they don't have an answer because they got paid. They're not supposed to be questioned.
And they get an additional $10 if they hold a sign.
Right.
Wait,
Exactly.
so I could get $25 an hour if I go out there and hold a sign?
Yep.
Yes.
I would do it, and I would just go heckle everyone.
Here you go.
Oh,
Because I
this
knew
is
you've
gonna
been
be
waiting
good.
for this moment all day.
Oh, God.
For our cardio produce for keeping us today. This is a remarkable place. I hope you had a chance.
Did he move the microphone away from her now?
Small businesses like the cardio are the lifeblood of the American economy with their great optimism, entrepreneurialism, and courage. It is a privilege to join so many
Can you turn it up?
business owners and
No.
community leaders during this
And I think that's part of the point.
He moved the microphone away from her.
Okay, first of all, she's calling it our cardio produce. It's called Durango produce. Durango produce. Our cardio. But at least she knows that she's at a produce section.
Oh my God. When will she retire? Actually, I want her to be in public office, and I want Pam Bondi to and Kash Patel to rack her. Do you know what? Let's just do the January 6th insurrection. How about we just use some of that? There's lots of other meat on the bone, but let's just go there first.
I'm going to go
I
here.
agree with the statement from Marie, by the way. She doesn't look right. She hasn't looked
No.
right in a lot of years, by the way.
You ready for
Probably.
this? And Elliot and I were looking at this before the show. I don't think that the Pope that J.D. Vance met with is the Pope that was there 2 years ago.
Okay.
Dun,
I always
dun,
like these ones.
dun.
I always like these ones. Let's see your evidence.
Nope. Sunday. Tune in Sunday.
Oh, Sunday.
For now, listen, this is not okay. This is absolutely not okay. And as long as it's allowed to take place, and right now it's being allowed to take place. This is Jewish students on the campus of Yale are not allowed to transfer from one side of the campus to the other. And that's happening because the administration of the campus is allowing that to happen.
We will not stop, we will not rest this close. Divest. We will not stop, we will not rest this close.
Our campus is public space.
We can only go around.
It's public campus. You don't own this. I pay for this, just like you. I'm a Yale student. I pay tuition. This is my space too. I want to walk through.
The people united will never be
Are you gonna get out of my way? Can I walk through?
United will never be
Why can you guys have your
Okay, that chant has always bothered me. The people united will never be defeated. Shouldn't it be the people united will never be divided? That just kind of flows better. Should we go tell them?
Who wrote that script? Can I just say, 22-year-old me, I would have been arrested, because there's absolutely no way I would have still been talking. I was a bit of a hothead at that age. I would have pushed my way right through that crowd. And I would have suffered the consequences, but there's absolutely no way that I would have just been like, can I please come through? It's not in me after this, after I'm told no, and these people are chanting in my face. Yeah.
The people united will never be defeated. Man.
How about
so good on paper?
How about sue that university back to the Stone Age?
They've done that. Remember, Donald Trump just took away how many $1 billion from
2.2.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
and guess
not
what?
enough. It's not enough. It's a violation of civil rights. It's not enough.
Yale is next. Yale is
not
next.
enough.
So one more. This one's going to stand
It's
by.
only 16 seconds, so I can't do a whole lot. Let's see.
Oh, you really? Watch. So in case you couldn't tell, they were throwing things at me.
And the police just sit there as campus security. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I'm with you, David. If I was 22, I'd probably get arrested by now.
I would because I was such a hothead. I was definitely not calm, cool, and collected. I'm not saying I'm great at now today, but definitely at that age, I for sure was not.
That is not
I would not have
accepted.
tolerated
It's
that.
down and to the point. That's just not accepted. And
It's not acceptable.
okay.
It's not acceptable, and it's going to continue as this is where I said it's not okay. It's going to continue as long as it's allowed to. And what I mean is, we, even if we're over here in Montana or we're in Washington State or we're in California, wherever we are, if you don't stand up and start calling people in Washington and say you need to fix this, then we don't really have a right. Now I think next week we'll start putting out some phone numbers. Maybe we'll start putting those phone numbers on the Facebook page. By the way, we do have a Facebook page, Just Our Take, at facebook.com. And maybe we start doing that and giving people the numbers where to call so you guys can start getting active and not just sitting back and letting these things happen to you. I am a firm believer that liberalism is a mental disorder.
Oh boy.
Oh, brother. Hey, is this gonna?
Fucking see without a turn signal.
There might be a few tough words.
Do you need an ambulance?
He doesn't have a turn signal. Get him a ticket.
You need to go to the.
Go and get a ticket. Then you do whatever you want.
Okay.
Give him a ticket.
Oh. Can I help you with anything else?
Give him a ticket. Okay, come on.
It's not gonna happen. Anything else we can help you with tonight?
Yeah. Give him a ticket.
Oh my
All right, it's not gonna happen.
What the does he get to do whatever the fuck he wants for?
I just want to know, are you okay?
That's not good. What, John, what did we talk about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe 6 months ago, that we're going to enter a period where we need a lot of psychotherapy. Like we're going to need a lot of people are going to need a lot of help.
Yeah, we did talk about that. And it looks like we're here. I don't want to end it on those, salty videos. So I've got one. I saw this today. It's not new, but it just was fun. And I thought that I would bring it up and let us all see it. Did you guys, by the way, anybody watch the Masters? I love golf. I'm a huge fan. My first job ever was a 12-year-old boy at a country club in Southern California. I've always been a golfer. I love golf. So golf just fascinates me. But this is, even if you're not a golfer, by the way, Rory won the He won the Masters, and here he is. Again, it's an older video, but it's a commercial for Nike. I think you'll like it.
Any questions? Not bad, not bad. Oh, it's gonna be like that, huh? Ah, someone wants to play.
He's trying to keep up with the old guy, you know?
Dude, is that your real hair?
Oh my God, the old guy.
Is that all you got? Go, go. I just can't miss today. Do you ever get days like that? Hey, Tiger, you looking? You looking? That one went in.
That's good.
How'd you do that?
You'll learn.
That's great. I love it.
I thought I would end it on something that we could all smile about.
Nice.
Yeah, the Chinese factory working company, right? Nike.
I knew you were
Right?
going to go there. I knew you were going to go there.
The children, the sweat houses that Nike uses to build their product.
Hey.
Sorry, I've been boycotting them for now 15 years.
Children need jobs too, and come on, those idle hands. You know, they got to put them to work.
Okay, so like I said on our Sunday show, we're going to talk a little bit more about our Trendy Awagra friend. I'm sorry, our MS-13 friend. We're also going to really dig in on the Pope conspiracy, and I call it a conspiracy for a lot of reasons. Two things I'll tell you about. Like I said, take a look at some pictures, some new ones and some old ones. You might disagree with me. That's okay. Take a look at the pictures where J.D. Vance was meeting with the Pope. And then look at some pictures of the Pope from, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago, and just tell me what you think. It's okay. It's okay if you disagree with me. I want you to look at the nose and look at the ears. But again, we can come back to this. We'll talk more about it on Sunday. Also, Is there any guess? Do you have any guess why J.D. Vance was wearing a gold tie? Because the rest of the day he was wearing a red tie. But why did he wear a gold tie when he met with the Pope? Again, we'll talk about that on Sunday. Cliffhanger. Bum, bum, bum.
That's good. Okay, now I have to go back and find videos of him. Oh yeah, he was wearing a gold tie. Okay, golden rule of. Anyways, I'll figure it out. But
we'll come back.
Tie. Who knew?
And I'm thinking that there's going to be a lot of other things that are coming up. That you're going to find are very, very interesting. I did see that Alice put a comment in here. Producer Alice put a comment in here that Trump has sent troops over to the Middle East to battle the Houthis. Interesting. We'll dig into that one because that looks like it might be breaking news. There's also a lot of interesting news about some of these people finally getting their comeuppance. I don't know if you saw this, but they just charged the leader of Trendy Aragua in America with terrorism charges. They just filed those charges. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what's happening. There's also 2 members of the DOD that have been referred for charges. And I have a video where a member of the DOD came right out and said, this guy works at the Pentagon under Pete Hegseth. And he goes, I am not going to support Hegseth. I'm not going to do what he tells me to. I'm going to actively rebel. Interestingly enough, it's hidden camera. And again, lots more fun stuff coming on this Sunday show. Any last words for the good of the order, Dave?
No, we didn't talk about, I can't even think of his name now. The guy from Dylan Bryan from Minnesota, Dylan Bryan Adams, who works in the local Minnesota government, who the DA there said, we're not going to prosecute the guy that vandalized your Teslas. I think we'll need to start talking about a little bit of that. Where is the justice? And I know there are some that have been arrested in different states. Minnesota, once again, really showing us the way. So let's talk a little bit about that also coming up on Sunday.
Yep, sounds great. How about you, El?
I am going to be listening to Sunday's show.
Any last words about tonight? Anything at all?
No, I think it was very good. I think I think we need to again communicate to our audience some of the things that we're seeing that need attention, right? We have a civic duty as American citizens, and we need to protect our land by holding people accountable, specifically those who we are in office, right? We don't have a kingdom. They're not in power. They are civil servants. I have called many a time my representatives, and I've asked them, what are you voting for on this specific law, or what is your opinion on X? And they're like, oh, it's a citizen calling me, it's a constituent, and all of a sudden they give me their attention, and that's all it takes is a phone call.
Yep.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
I love that call out, and John, I like that you called it out also earlier. That hey, if you want to make a difference, it may feel really small, but I will say it does matter. I did not participate. I didn't know what was going on, but I will going forward. In Washington State, our cabal here, our Democratic Party here, was trying to, against the voters' wills, pass new legislation that would allow them to remove the cap on property taxes from 1% a year, maximum 1% increase a year, to a minimum of a max of 3% a year. And then they wanted to do away with that altogether. And so basically property taxes could have skyrocketed, and it was going to go through, even though the voters had previously said, nope, 1% max a year. You can't raise my property taxes by more than that. And fortunately, our governor here saw crowds and crowds and crowds of people and lots of phone calls and letters and emails that went into his office that said, this is a bad idea, don't do it. And he said, hey, you know what? We're not going to do it. So it eventually died. But it took the constituents to rise up to say in mass, this is a bad idea, don't do it. Otherwise, it would have passed, and property taxes would have skyrocketed in some areas, and which would, of course, hurt the people here. So it does work.
I want to just address this real quick. So on the guy from Minnesota, he worked directly for Walz, he worked in the Tim Walz administration. He keyed at least 5 Teslas, and the AG in Minnesota said no charges. Well, they are now pursuing federal charges against the guy, so he's not going to get off.
Good.
It looks like both Roger and Alice want to see that happen. I think all of us do, and I think that is going to happen. I also want to remind you that on Fridays, we do live from the barbershop. There is no agenda, no scripts. There's no me or David or Elle on air, unless I should be getting my haircut this Friday, so that might happen on air. We are live from 11 to 1 o'clock Mountain Time, and tune in. There's no start, there's no finish. You just pop in there at any time, come say hi to us, and just see what happens. What we try to do is just capture what's happening in a small town barbershop. And so far, it's been a lot of fun. A lot of people have give us some good feedback on it. So if you have a chance, take a look. And you can always go watch the videos afterwards. Skip forward, skip back. It doesn't matter. Like I said, it's not a scripted event. They're just some interesting conversations that go on in there.
Nice. All right. Thank you,
guys. Thank you very much. You guys have a fantastic week. We'll see you on Sunday.
Awesome. Have a good night.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we, the people, choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors,
that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? The sweet emotion raining all over me.
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
American rock and roll.